It was just past 9 p.m. when the banging started. 3 shadows outside my cabin. Flashlights. One voice shouting, "Step outside with your hands up." I thought it was a prank, till they tried to cuff me. If you've ever had someone abuse fake power to intimidate you, stay with me. Because this isn't just about a crooked HOA. It's about what happens when the wrong people try to act above the law. And the one person they underestimated, she was sitting by my fire, flipping pages of a Supreme Court brief. Let me take you back 48 hours before that night. I had driven up to my grandfather's old cabana, 2-bedroom spot tucked deep in the Colorado mountains. It wasn't fancy, but it was quiet, peaceful, a break from the madness of the city and the nonsense of HOA rules. Except, I didn't know the madness had followed me. My name's Drew. I own that cabin free and clear. No mortgage. No agreement. No shared community. But that week, my neighbor Karen had other plans. Karen moved in last year after her divorce. Blonde bob haircut, designer sunglasses, even in the shade. And a clipboard that never left her side. Self-appointed president of a self-created Mountain Pines HOA, which, let me remind you, didn't legally include my property. I didn't care. Until she started showing up with threats. "You need to remove that illegal woodpile. It's a fire hazard," she said. I looked her square in the eye. "That woodpile's been here since before you were born, Karen. This land isn't in your HOA. We voted on it," she snapped. "It is now," I laughed. Good luck with that. That didn't sit well with her. I went back to chopping firewood. Karen stomped off, shouting something about fines and enforcement. I rolled my eyes. That's when she noticed the other car in the driveway. "Who's visiting, friend?" I replied. "Hope they're not staying more than 72 hours. HOA has rules." Answer: because my guest had just stepped out onto the porch with a glass of wine and a law book in her hand. Her name was Leah. She's calm, sharp, and you wouldn't guess at first glance, but she works for the U.S. Supreme Court. "Everything okay?" she asked me. Karen stiffened. "This is a private community." Leah smiled sweetly. "Not according to the zoning maps." Karen narrowed her eyes. "We'll see. We thought that was the end of it. We were wrong." 2 days later, we were watching the fire crackle inside. Music low, Leah reviewing briefs for a case, me sipping cider and reading a book. Then the pounding came. HOA, enforcement. Opened the door. Now, Leah and I looked at each other. "That can't be real," I whispered. She stood slowly, walked to the door, and peered through the peephole. 3 of them. Karen's out there with 2 guys. One has a vest labeled HOA security. My blood ran cold. HOA security? At 9 p.m.? I opened the door a crack. Karen shoved her foot in. "Drew, you're under arrest for obstruction of HOA protocol and unauthorized occupancy." I blinked. "Are you insane?" One of the guys moved to grab my arm. Then Leah stepped forward. She was dressed plainly, soft flannel jeans. No makeup, no badge. But her voice, cold, controlled, calculated. "You're detaining people under a fabricated civil code," she said. "On private land you don't own. You've just committed forced entry, impersonation of law enforcement, and unlawful detainment." Lisa blinked. "Who the hell are you?" Leah slowly reached into her leather sack show. She pulled out a laminated ID signed in gold. Supreme Court Judiciary. "Clerk of Chambers." The bald man's face went white. "You have exactly 10 seconds to exit this cabin and walk backward to the property line. If not, I will contact the State Attorney General's office, and this will become a constitutional investigation into HOA abuse." "You don't scare me," Karen snapped. Leah raised her phone. "You're already being recorded. You've entered without a warrant. You're enforcing non-existent laws, and you've crossed state property lines. Shall I continue?" The bald man tapped Lisa's shoulder. "Let's go," he muttered. They turned, walked out. No apology. No words, just rage simmering behind Lisa's eyes, and something told me she wasn't done yet. Later that night, Leah pulled up a document from the county assessor's office. It was buried deep, hidden under years of resistance. Turns out, the HOA had submitted a boundary expansion, request illegally to include my property on their map. They'd filed it with a forged signature. Mine, they thought I'd never notice. Leah drafted a formal complaint, not just to the county. She filed it with the state Department of Regulatory Affairs, SHE-CCD, the Bar Association, the Attorney General's office, and to Supreme Court. Justices she worked under. It was no longer about a cabin. It was about how small-time tyrants tried to abuse fake power and ran into the law, the real law. 3 days later, my phone rang. It was the sheriff. He asked to meet privately. Turns out Karen had gone to the sheriff's office trying to file trespassing charges against me. She'd shown photos of her clipboard, maps she printed from Google, even a fake ordinance she wrote herself. But then Leah's report landed on his desk, with timestamps, legal definitions, witness statements, and the clincher, an affidavit from the county clerk confirming the forged signature on the annexation request. Lisa was charged with forgery, criminal trespass, attempted unlawful detainment. Filing false documents, her HOA presidency was suspended. The board dissolved within 30 days. Turns out most of them weren't even elected legally. They'd staged meetings and never recorded minutes. The entire HOA was built on ego, not law, that night. Leah and I sat by the fire again. Same place, same warm tea, but everything felt different. You didn't have to do all that, I said. Softly she smiled, tapping her glasses up her nose. They thought they could use power to scare you. But the law isn't about fear. It's about balance. It's about reminding people, no matter how small the town, no one is above it. If someone like that has ever tried to push you around, drop your story in the comments. You're not alone. Sometimes the right person with the right words can turn the whole thing around. The night after the charges were filed, things were quiet. Too quiet. Leah had returned to D.C., leaving me with 2 folders, one with all the legal filings and the other marked in case of retaliation. That folder, it would come in handy. Faster than I imagined, I didn't hear from Karen or her HOA goons for about 72 hours. Then, at 6:27 a.m., a tow truck pulled into my driveway. It wasn't subtle. It crunched over gravel, scraping something under the truck bed. The driver didn't look at me. Just stepped out, clipboard in hand, and said, "We're here for the vehicle." On HOA order, I stared. You mean my truck? Plate matches? What a paper. Violation of Residential Code 9.3, non-permitted overnight parking. There's no HOA here. Take it up with the board, he said, already walking toward the truck. I blocked his path. That's when I noticed 2 other cars parked. Just outside the tree line, one was Lisa's white BMW. The other was a black SUV I hadn't seen before, and in the back seat of the SUV, Karen. Filming smiling, I turned toward the tow driver. "If you touch that truck, I swear I will." "You'll what?" a voice called out. Lisa stepped from the trees. "You're on our land now." "No," I said, pulling out my phone. "This land was surveyed and zoned outside your jurisdiction. I already filed with the state, that survey. Under appeal," I blinked. "You're appealing a land survey." "Requesting redetermination," she said smugly. "You can't." "Emergency community expansion. It's allowed. Till that's resolved, we consider this part of Mountain Pines." The tow driver shrugged. I had 2 choices. Let them take my truck, get arrested trying to stop them. I went back inside. I pulled out Leah's in case of retaliation folder. Inside, she had a list of legal contacts. One was a state land use attorney. Another, a journalist from the state's biggest investigative blog. I called the journalist first. Her name was Amber McKnight. She listened without interrupting. "I need proof," she said. "I have documents, a forged HOA expansion, a fake arrest attempt, and now this." She sighed. "I'm coming up. Send me the coordinates." By 11 a.m., Amber was at the cabin. She brought a drone, a body cam, and a portable printer. "We're going to document everything," she said. "From the trees to the tire tracks, we filmed the damage to my driveway. We filmed the stake Lisa had hammered into the ground, claiming temporary HOA boundary. We even flew the drone over her house to reveal a new sign in her yard. Coming soon, Mountain Pines Lake Sia Lubishi wasn't expanding for safety. She was building a business. By 5 p.m., Amber had uploaded a teaser video. Local HOA president forges. Boundary to build private resort. It hit 300,000 views in 6 hours. At 11 p.m., my phone rang. It was Lisa. Take that video down now. I laughed. Oh, you're not used to public backlash? You have no idea what you've started. And you have no idea who my friend works for. Silence. Then she hung up. The next morning, Amber's full article dropped. It included maps proving my land was outside the HOA, an interview with Leah Anonymous, but quoted powerfully the fake ordinance documents Lisa had created a list of HOA member complaints against Hearth Estate, opened a formal investigation. Then, just as Lisa was losing control, she tried one last move. She held a public HOA meeting. In my driveway? Yup. Set up chairs, speakers, invited members. Claimed the land was contested and used that as justification. Amber showed up, mic in hand. Lisa tried to block her. Didn't work. Amber streamed the whole thing live. Thousands watched as Lisa stuttered through a fake agenda, ignored questions, and finally snapped. This land belongs to the HOA now. We are claiming it under community necessity. That's when the sheriff pulled up. He walked past the cameras, past the crowd, and straight to Lisa. Ma'am, you're violating a court directive to cease all HOA activity outside established boundaries. You are hereby served. He handed her a bright yellow envelope. The crowd went silent. Lisa froze. She tried to laugh. Said, "This is ridiculous." Then she saw the second envelope. A civil lawsuit, filed by me with Leah's help. HOA harassment, property damage, forgery, defamation. Amber's camera zoomed in as Lisa's smile vanished. And just like that, it was over. But you know what stuck with me? It wasn't the arrest, or the headlines, or even the apology letters some former board members sent me. It was the message Leah left me the night after the lawsuit was served. A simple voicemail.
They used fear. You used truth. One is loud. The other lasts.
So to anyone watching this who's ever been bullied by an HOA, or watched someone with a clipboard pretend they owned your peace, speak up. Document everything. Never underestimate the power of one smart.com voice beside the fire. Because the moment you stop being afraid of them, they start being afraid of you. 3 weeks after the lawsuit, you'd think things would die down. They didn't, in fact. What came next wasn't just petty retaliation. It was a full-blown campaign. Phone calls at 2 a.m., trash dumped at my cabin gate, dead animal left on. My porch with a note, "Move or burn." I took it all to the sheriff. He shook his head, said, "We're looking into it." But I knew what that meant. Stall. Paper shuffle. It out. Lisa might have been removed as HOA president, but she still had influence. Her brother-in-law, county clerk, her ex-husband, real estate investor with 4 properties in Mountain Pines. They weren't done. They just went underground. But the moment they made it personal, they triggered something in Leah. She'd been quiet after returning to D.C. I didn't expect to hear from her until the court dates. But one morning, I woke up to 14 missed calls and one simple text. "Drew, sit tight. Don't post anything. I'm on it." Then a second one. "Remember the judge from my circuit? He just read Amber's blog. He's furious." I had no idea what that meant, until 5 days later, there was a town hall. It's not in our county, in the state capital. A legislative hearing on rural HOA overreach. They do them once a year. Nobody watches. Just red tape and tired reps nodding at paper stacks, but this year Leah's name was on the docket. She flew back in. Not for me, not for Karen, but for the principle of it all. I drove down to the hearing in a borrowed pickup. The room was packed. Amber was already live streaming. Leah stood near the side, calm as ever, holding a binder thicker than a phone book. Inside it was every document from our case, every video, every survey map, every neighbor complaint. She could find. She wasn't there to play lawyer. She was there to light a fire, and when they called her name, she walked to the mic like she'd done it 100 times. No notes, no hesitation, just this voice, calm. Even that somehow made every lobbyist in the room sit up. This isn't about fences. It's not about sheds, or trash cans, or tree heights, she began. This is about unchecked authority under the disguise of community safety. This is about small groups, often unelected, operating as private governments. And in one case, they tried to detain a man in his own cabin, using fake laws, at night. They asked for evidence. She gave them timestamps. They asked for motive. She gave them Lisa's development permits, filed weeks before the harassment began. Then someone, a senator from the Housing Committee, asked if any criminal charges had stuck. Leah answered without blinking. Forgery, trespass, attempted unlawful detainment, all pending. But the real damage is not legal. It's emotional. People live in fear of their neighbors. People like Drew, hardworking, tax-paying citizens, are told they're trespassers on their own land. The room went still, then applause. Not loud. Not performative, but real. And for the first time since this started, felt something shift. Power not in the hands of a Karen with a clipboard, but in truth. Leah stepped away from the podium. Amber whispered something to her. Leah nodded once. Then she looked at me and smiled. But back home, Karen had other plans. That night, someone set fire to my mailbox. Didn't catch. Thankfully, it was wet from a storm. But the message was clear. We embarrassed them. We pushed too far. And now, they were desperate. The sheriff came by the next morning. His tone had changed. You made some enemies, he said bluntly. I stared. You mean Lisa? He shook his head. Not just Lisa. County boards rattled. Karen's exes. Trying to file a claim to restrict your land access says the easement is invalid. That's nonsense, I know. But it's going to court now. Civil litigation. Again, I stood there, frozen. They were trying to bury me in legal fees. Death by paperwork. But Leah, she had anticipated it. She flew in again, this time without warning. I heard the door knock at 6:43 a.m., opened it. There she was. Backpack. Coffee. Binder in hand. You're going to need support, she said. They're escalating. And for the next 6 days, she camped at my cabin. We turned the living room into a war room, maps, land documents, court dockets, financial records. She even uncovered emails from Lisa to the county zoning office, pushing them to fast-track permits by leveraging her ex-husband's name. Everything was connected. The HOA, the lake project, the forged expansion, the midnight arrest, all of it, coordinated to force me off that land so Lisa's new resort could claim exclusive waterfront rights. But what they didn't count on was Leah's reach. One night over coffee, she looked up from the papers and said, I think it's time we go federal. I blinked. What? She pulled out her phone. At a call. Spoke for less than 30 seconds. 2 days later, K2 men in dark suits showed up at my cabin. U.S. Marshals, not to arrest, to collect evidence. Turns out, the federal courts were opening an inquiry, a constitutional one, because HOA overreach had been on their radar for months, and our case was the spark they needed. Leah handed them everything. The forged signatures. The surveillance, the fake security team, the live streams, the public threats, even the voicemail Karen accidentally left when she beguiled me, ranting about finishing the job. They thanked her, promised discretion. But the next day it was national. Amber's headline read, Supreme Court Clerk blows whistle on HOA. Corruption. FBI now investigating Colorado town. The article exploded. News vans rolled into Aspen. Ridge, HOA board members started resigning. Karen, she disappeared. Her house went dark. No one saw her for days. Then someone leaked the resort's investor list. And guess who was on it? State representative, Lisa's cousin. And the same county official who approved the fake HOA boundary map, they were planning to build a private golf course. luxury cabins, and sell executive memberships for $150,000 a year, all on stolen land, including mine. Leah took the list. Straight to the Justice Department. Meanwhile, I received a letter, typed, "No return address." Inside was a photo of me and Leah at the cabin, laughing by the fire. On the back, "She's next." I showed the sheriff. He went pale. "You need security," he said, "and backup cameras. And might want to relocate until this settles." I looked him dead in the eyes. "I'm not going anywhere." Neither was Leah. She doubled down. Filed a protective order, pushed the DOJ to escalate, and then she made a call to her old boss, a justice of the Supreme Court. What happened next? No one saw coming. That justice, unnamed, but very much active, wrote an open editorial in the Washington Post titled, "When Homeowners Associations Become Dangerous." A clerk's testimony, it didn't mention Leah by name, but it told our story. It warned about unchecked local power. It called on state governments to regulate private HOA security forces. Within 48 hours, 3 states passed emergency review orders, and the HOA dismantled, every board member subpoenaed. Lisa, indicted. Karen, arrested. Found hiding out in a family friend's cabin 4 towns over. But most surreal is that voicemail. The one Leah left me months ago. They used fear. You used truth. She was wrong. We used truth. We used each other. And in the end, that's what beat them. Not the titles, not the degrees, not even the lawsuits, but 2 people who refused to stay quiet and 1 tiny, unassuming cabin in the mountains that became ground. 0 for something bigger than both of us. The courthouse smelled like old books and fear. You could feel it. The tension, the hum of whispered voices, the shuffle of dress shoes across marble. But none of that compared to what I felt when Leah stepped into the courtroom. She wasn't just a guest anymore, or even a quiet clerk who read briefs by my fire. She was now our star witness, and they knew it. The state versus Lisa Marwell, that was the official case. But everyone in that room knew it was bigger than her. It was the town, the HOA, the machinery behind her. This was about power. Who had it? Who abused it? And who was finally fighting back? I sat in the 3rd row. Alone, Leah sat at the front. Next to the prosecuting attorney, Lisa's defense team was massive. 4 attorneys in gray suits, 1 consultant with a thick laptop, and Lisa herself still. Smug, still hiding behind her oversized sunglasses. Like they made her invisible, the judge called order. Opening statements were crisp, scripted. Her attorneys claimed this was a misunderstanding, a civil boundary dispute blown out of proportion, that Lisa had no intention of causing harm. Then Leah stood, and the room shifted. She began not with legal codes or case citations, but with the first night, the night they tried to arrest my friend in his own home. She told them everything, calmly, factually, like reading out a timeline. It could have been any of ours. From the clipboard threats, to the midnight knock, to the fake security team, the forged expansion map, the attempted seizure of his truck, even the dead animal on the porch. She was running a private government, Leah said. Without checks, without elections, without law. The courtroom went silent. Then the defense rose, tried to rattle her. "Miss Chambers, do you have any formal authority in Colorado?" "No," she replied. "Are you a lawyer licensed to practice?" "Here? No." "Then why are you here?" Leah smiled, calm, unbothered. "Because I was a witness to misconduct. Because the people of this town deserve to know that the law doesn't belong to people with clipboards and fake ordinances." They pressed harder. "How do we know your friend didn't fabricate these stories for attention?" She held up the laminated ID, Supreme Court Judiciary Clerk. Not a badge, but almost more powerful than one. They quieted, but the real moment. That came an hour later. The prosecution called a surprise. Witness. Amber, she stepped into the box with her body cam footage. Everything. Lisa had done every word, every threat played on screen. She tried to object, tried to claim editing manipulation. The judge denied it. Then Amber handed over something that silenced even the defense. A handwritten letter, Karen's confession, found in her purse when she was arrested. It detailed everything. The plan to harass me off the property, the resort scheme, even the orders she received from Lisa to get it done, quietly. Lisa turned pale. The court recessed for lunch. Leah and I stood outside in the hallway. For a moment we didn't speak, just looked at the light falling through stained glass windows. Then she whispered, "You realize what this means, right?" I nodded. "They're going down." She paused. "No. We are the first domino. They're going to use this case in legislative reforms. It's training materials, maybe even future judicial arguments." I smiled. "That bad, huh?" She gave a half laugh, but I could see it in her eyes. This wasn't just about me anymore. This had become something much bigger. When court resumed, the defense tried to save face. They presented character witnesses, old neighbors, HOA board members who claimed Lisa was just trying to help the community. But one by one, those people broke under cross. They admitted they never saw official board elections, never saw meeting minutes, never signed a vote to include my property. And when shown Lisa's forged annexation document, no one could explain it. Lisa never took the stand, and that silence, it said more than anything she could have uttered. The final moments of the trial came fast. The jury deliberated for just under 3 hours, then returned with the verdict: guilty on all charges: forgery, harassment, attempted unlawful detainment, filing false legal documents, property damage, conspiracy to defraud. The judge didn't hold back either. He sentenced Lisa to 2 years probation, mandatory psychological evaluation, $50,000 in restitution, and a court order to never hold a position of authority in a housing association again. But more than that, he ordered the dissolution of the Mountain Pines HOA entirely. Every property owner is released from its authority. Freedom, real, legal, signed freedom. After the gavel fell, the courtroom buzzed. Reporters rushed out. Lawyers shook hands. Amber filmed one final clip before her blog went dark that night. Just a still shot of me and Leah standing on the courthouse steps, side by side. No words, we didn't need them, but the moment I'll never forget was later that night. Back at the cabin, we didn't say much, just sat by the fire again, the same place it all started. I poured 2 mugs of cider. She pulled out a familiar manila folder. "Thought you might want to see this." She said inside were drafts of new state regulations, all referencing our case. Better protection for homeowners, clear limits on HOA authority, new rules about transparency, elections, legal boundaries. They're naming it the Aspen Ridge Policy Initiative, she said softly. After the cabin. I laughed. That's got a ring to it. She looked at me. "You stood your ground, Drew. Most people would have folded. I had help." She raised her glass. 2 cabins, 2 cameras, and 2 clipboards finally meeting the Constitution. We toasted outside. The snow started falling, quiet, soft, and somewhere beyond the trees, the last remnants of Lisa's empire crumbled, not with sirens or screams, but with silence. That's how it ends. Not with a bang, but with a truth no. HOA can write off, and if anyone out there is watching this, sitting in a home where the HOA fines you for your fence color, for your welcome mat, for parking in your own damn driveway, just know this: they don't own your peace, they don't own your future, and they sure as hell don't own you, because the law doesn't belong to the loudest person in the neighborhood. It belongs to the quiet ones, the ones who fight back and win.